Hi everyone, and welcome to Kool Takes, where the takes are hot and the vibes stay cool. I'm Lisa, and I will be your host for this new series, and we can't thank you enough for tuning into this first episode. Here, we'll be flipping the script on conventional food service, because walk-ins don't have to be boring. And now I know what you're thinking. Walk-ins, super exciting. But they are. Give me a chance to prove it to you. Let's dive in. So I want you to picture this scenario. You're at a concert. Super great. The band is awesome. You've been waiting for months to be there and it's finally arrived. And the first thought that comes to your mind is, man, that stage guy is really killing it. He's lifting the curtains, turning on the fog machines, operating the confetti cannon. Pretty cool. Let's be honest. How often has that thought ever come to your mind in that situation? Never, right? Well, it's kind of like walk-ins. Walk-ins are the unsung heroes of the kitchen. They're not thought of very often. I mean, how often have you ever been at a restaurant and thought, man, that walk-in is really keeping that food cool before it's cooked? Never, right? Because that would be kind of weird. Or maybe a little fun. Probably weird. The point I'm trying to make here is that without a walk-in, there would really be no restaurant. Same with the stage guy. No stage guy, no concert. Right? And just like the stage guy, you probably don't know much about him. Same with walk-ins. General information is probably not really wide known to the public. So I was thinking, what does the biggest search engine on the planet think about a walk-in cooler? So I Googled it. All right, let's see. What is a walk-in? And Google says a walk-in is large enough to walk into. That's very on the nose. We like that. Also, available for customers or clients without the need for an appointment. Okay, I can see that we're going to need to be more specific. So, what is a walk-in cooler? A walk-in cooler is a large insulated room designed to maintain a specific temperature, typically for food and beverage storage. There we go. That's the right one. And very true. But I don't want to know what Google specifically says about a walk-in. I want to know what you guys are asking Google. So, for that, let's go to the frequently asked questions. And so, the first question that we have, very excited. How long can you survive in a walk-in cooler? Really? That's what you guys are Googling? If you can survive, some of you have been watching too many horror movies. And believe me, we're going to address that little issue in horror movies. We'll save that for episode 2. But for now, it is a question. Let's talk about it. So, how long can you survive in a walk-in cooler? A cooler is cool, not freezing. So, humans can withstand the cold, so let's not worry too much about the temperature, though it is important because hypothermia is a thing. But considering that you are wearing proper clothing when you are in the walk-in, and as long as you don't, have sleepy time for too long, we're probably okay. So what it's really going to come down to is the food. Do you have food to survive? And considering that you're in a walk-in where they store food, you're probably in luck. There's probably some kind of cooked food, some kind of ingredients that we can use. I mean, I could live off pickles for at least a week, and I'm just saying that because I don't want to be weird because I could probably live for a lot longer. But, so, properly clothed, food, and don't sleep for too long because the body gets cooler as you rest. I think that you could be okay. I think for as long as you'll probably be stuck in there, you'll probably be okay. Now, if you're stuck in there for longer than 1 or 2 days, the entrapment probably is in an accident, and then at that point, someone's trying to kill you, and that's something that I can't really help you with. So anyway, let's see what Google thinks. How long can you survive in a walk-in cooler? If you do the math, you'll see that the person needs about 150 cubic feet of pure oxygen per day. There's 320 cubic feet per... This is math. This is math, and I actually forgot about oxygen. People are okay with oxygen concentration down to 10% or so. So there's enough oxygen to last for about a full day. I forgot about oxygen. Like I said, full day, you're okay. Anything longer than that, someone's probably trying to murder you. Let's move on. Okay, what is the difference between a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer? Super easy question. Walk-in cooler cools, which means it's not going to go below freezing, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually between 32 and 40 degrees for a cooler. Freezer is naturally going to be lower than the freezing point, which is going to be 32. Let's see if Google agrees with me. Insulation and construction. Walk-in freezer requires thicker... I feel like Google and I are not vibing. We're on different wavelengths here. Insulation and more robust sealing to maintain the lower temperature. We're just going to call that a win for both of us. Moving on. Do I need a floor for my walk-in cooler? Not necessarily. If you've ensured that the floor that your walk-in is going to be on is properly insulated, then technically, no, you don't need a floor. If it's not properly insulated, definitely go with the floor, like over crawl spaces and things like that. All right, let's see what Google has to say. Insulated floors are required if walk-ins are over a crawl space, basement, or above the first floor of a building. And also, I want to shout out, hello. Need a little information about floorings? Come visit this blog. Highly recommend. Can you put hot food in a walk-in cooler? Yes, you can. Of course you can. Should you? That's a question of food safety, to be honest. Bacteria will start to grow between 140 and 40 degrees within the core of food. So, of course you can, but you have a higher risk of there being bacteria growth, which is why you should have a blast chiller. Blast chillers will keep you and your customers safe from bacteria. So, yes, you can, but for food safety, I would say no and get yourself a blast chiller. According to Google, they aren't wrong to be placing the hot food in a cooler. Bacteria grows most rapidly between temperatures of 40 and 140. The quicker it's brought down to 40 degrees, the better, because of bacteria. So, yes, you can, but also be aware of the consequences that might happen if you do. Another question, can you get locked in a walk-in cooler? Here we go again with these horror scenarios. I guess in theory, you can physically get locked in. You can step inside a cooler and someone can lock you in. But realistically, with door safety in place, and once again, we're going to talk about that in episode 2, you can't really. If you buy a walk-in with proper door safety, you cannot get locked in. I know a lot of manufacturers, including Thermocool, we always have these on all of our doors. We have door releases. So if you are locked in, if someone physically locks you in with a key and walks away, there's a knob inside the cooler that you can turn and it will open the door. So, to my answer, you cannot get locked into a walk-in cooler. But let's see what Google says. Walk-in coolers are an integral part of a business, and sometimes being accidentally locked inside can happen. If this occurs, do not panic. This guide will share some tips. Okay, someone's giving you a guide. You can't get locked into a walk-in cooler, at least not if the manufacturer is doing what they're supposed to and putting those safeties in places. So no, Google, I'm vetoing your answer, and you cannot. You cannot. We're moving on. Can mold grow in a walk-in cooler? It absolutely can. Typically, this mold is called white mold. It is usually brought on by a humidity issue in your cooler. So if you are having humidity in your cooler, you should probably call us Call a service person to address this. Now, the best way to get rid of that mold is, of course, never to have the mold in the first place, which, we have metals that are, that are anti-mold. So, questions, just give us a call. But to get rid of it, naturally, you would use like a vinegar solution to get rid of that temporarily. Temporarily, because if you have a humidity issue, it's going to come back. So, call your service guy or your manufacturer. Give it a little clean with some vinegar, and you should be okay. What does Google think? Can mold grow in a walk-in cooler? Refrigerators and walk-in cold rooms are ideal environments for mold to grow due to high moisture and humidity levels. Call your service person. Or actually, just call us. What are the disadvantages of a walk-in refrigerator? None. 0. Recommend 10 out of 10. There are none, but I'm sure Google's going to find some. All right, Google, what are the disadvantages? Cons of walk-in refrigeration. Expensive. Walk-in refrigeration systems are more expensive to install and maintain than reach-in systems. But this is a factor of ROI. Yes, you may pay more up front, but you're going to have better quality, more room, and certainly with Thermocool, if you use one of our custom walk-ins, we will be able to give you more space with our customization. So yes, a little more expensive in the short run, but the ROI on that will pick up. So Google, once again, I veto your answer. What food items should be stored on the top shelf in your walk-in cooler? This is a great question. For those of you who don't know, there is a chart out there that basically breaks down what items are best for each shelf. We're going to put it in this beautiful blank space here. So those items for the top shelf, we're going to be looking at essentially fruit and vegetables, things that are going to collect bacteria, that are less likely to collect bacteria. Because if you were to put like meat or chicken and somehow there was bacteria in that, you run the risk of there being some dripping coming down from those boxes or whatever it's stored in and then contaminating all the food below it. So you want to go less bacteria, more bacteria. We don't want any bacteria. That's why you should get a blast chiller. But just in case, you want to use that chart. Google says, best storage location for fruits, vegetables, and herbs is the highest shelf in your walk-in. In general, produce contains less dangerous bacteria compared to meat and dairy. So, Google is correct again. Also, on a side note, if you want to have less mold and bacteria on your fruits and vegetables, we would recommend that you take a look at Blue Zone. Again, call us. Blue Zone. All right, let's get a little bit of a service question here. Why is my walk-in cooler so humid? There can be a lot of reasons as to why your walk-in is a little more humid. It could be an improper seal, or it could be one that's just broken down over time. You could have a door gasket that is, leveled up a little higher than it should be, and it's letting in that humidity under the door. Could be that your refrigeration's going out. Lot of options. Never assume. There's certainly a checklist that you can go through and kind of deduce why that might be happening. But I would always recommend that you call your manufacturer. You would want to call our service department and let the professionals do the checklist for you and figure it out. When you open the doors of a cold room, it attracts fresh air from the warehouse. Since the cold room has a lower temperature, the moisture in the air condenses inside the cold room and thus increasing the humidity. Okay, this is true if you're having like temporary humidity, or say that you got a delivery of food and you have people just going in and out of your walk-in without shutting the door. Yes, the warmer air from outside is going to invade your cooler, and depending on how long that you leave it open, it's going to get humid in there. If you have those situations where you have a lot of high traffic going in and out of your walk-in, you might want to think about getting strip curtains to help keep some of that air in. But also just try and keep the door shut. And, if you're If you have a thermal cool walk-in and you have our TK4700 monitor, if the door is left open for a long period of time or it's left ajar, it will eventually, it's going to alarm you and say, hey, the door's open, close the door. So we try to mitigate that from happening as much as possible. Oh, here's a related one. Why do walk-in fridges have flaps? We're going to go ahead and look at that one. That's got to be air curtains. Stocked freezer and cooler, strip curtains. Basically, what we just said keeps the humidity out and the cold in. Let's see, we're starting to get into a lot of repeat questions here. What is the temperature of the danger zone? We talked about that. That's going to be 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's pick one last good one. What's a good one? I think let's end on a maintenance one. Just a way to close it out, how to keep your walk-in maintained properly, specifically washing. Can you power wash a walk-in cooler? No, don't do that. Never pour water directly into your walk-in cooler or freezer, because that water can seep into the floor, and then when the temperatures get cold, as they do, especially in a freezer, that water is going to freeze and it's going to expand. And it's going to make your floors warp. It's going to make a crunching sound when you walk on it. It's not going to insulate properly. And then we're looking at a situation where we're going to have to try to get that water somehow out of that floor, or we're just going to have to replace the floor altogether. And that is kind of an expensive error when just don't pour water in your walk-in. If it needs to be clean, get yourself a mop or any kind of unharsh chemical. My best advice for cleaning a walk-in is just wet cloth, maybe a little lemon in it. Use a mop that's absolutely not saturated with water, and just no harsh chemicals. You should be fine. Avoid using power washers and hoses. In addition to the damage they may cause to the floor itself, there is a high risk of food contamination due to water splashing around. That is true. Use a well-wrung out mop and do not leave excessive water on the floor. Absolutely correct. Great way to end it. Google wins. We win. Congratulations on that. Also, let me know how many of these questions that you got right. Again, thank you so much for tuning into this first episode. We hoped you loved it as much as we enjoyed making it, and we are looking forward to making more of these. I hope you'll come back and join us next time. We're really going to dive into door safety, why it's important, what the history is of it, and the tragic story that really pushed regulations forward. And no, I haven't forgotten. We're going to discuss what happens in horror movies when you don't have door safety. I'm looking at you, Netflix. And that's it. That is episode 1. We hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, click the link above or below, whichever social platform that you are on, and come visit our page and get subscribed to get more videos like this. And until next time, stay cool.